everyone, welcome back. And today it's going to be all about P33. Now P33 is a newer ISO 160 panchromatic black and white film that's manufactured by Ferrania in Italy. And this is my first chance to use this film. In my last video, I used their Orto 50 and I developed that in Adox D76. So if you want to see results from that film, check my last video and you can check out the photos that I've taken with that film and that developer. So that being said, this video is about Ferrania P33. And the photos that I want to show you are photos that I had taken on a trip to the Hudson Valley in upstate New York, where I started in the Rhinebeck-Kingston area and then made my way north up to Olana, which is the estate of the famous artist Frederick Church. And it's really beautiful up there. I mean, that whole area is beautiful. So it was a perfect place to give this film a trial run. So I took my Pentax MX, I loaded it with P33, and I shot some photos in the Hudson Valley. So I want to show you those photos. And I also, as I did with Orto 50, I developed the film in the newer Adox D76. And the recommended time on the Adox website at 68 degrees is 10 minutes. But I use the stock solution of D76. So once you mix that to a liter, you can just develop your film with it. And then instead of throwing it out, you pour it back into the bottle and save it so you can reuse it. So I'd like to take a minute or two to elaborate a little further on using D76 stock solution. And I'm using the Adox version. Adox D76 is a powder developer that comes in packages to make either 1 or 5 liters of stock solution. Unlike Kodak's version, it dilutes in water at around 80 degrees Fahrenheit versus approximately 125 degrees for Kodak. And it's also dust-free, which helps when mixing the stock solution. It can be used as a reusable stock developer, as I am currently doing, or as a one-shot developer when diluted further, such as 1:1 or 1:3, depending on your desired results. The thing about the stock solution is that every time you use it, okay, you pour it back into the container or back into the bottle of stock solution. But each time you use it, you have to increase your developing time by 10%. And then number one, I also date the bottle when I mixed it, so I know exactly how old it is. And then after I develop each batch of film, and I always use I won't say always, but most of the time I use a 2-roll tank, so it's 2 rolls at a time. So for instance, when I first developed the Orto 50, which I did with this developer, it was recommended on Ferrania's website 8 minutes, and that's what I did at 68 degrees. Now, when I did the P33, the second 2 rolls, the Ferrania website recommended 10 minutes. I simply did 11 minutes instead. And then the next 2 rolls, which have been the third time, I did a couple rolls of Tri-X. Adox recommended 7 minutes for Tri-X, but I added a total of 20% because 10% for each time I used it. And instead of 7 minutes, I did around 8.5 minutes with Tri-X. Due to having to increase your development time after each use when using it as a stock developer, I've limited my reuse of developing 2 rolls at a time up to 3 additional uses, allowing me to develop a total of 8 rolls of 36 exposure film. I do so because I'm leery of the consistency of results as the developer weakens and the development times get longer. Another thing I do when I'm using stock solution is that I use a filter funnel. I have a funnel that has a little screen inside of it. So I simply run the developer through the filter funnel until I measure out the correct amount of liquid that I need. And as far as maintaining a temperature of 68 degrees with stock solution, it would require a water bath to get the developer to the correct temperature. In my case, most of the times I'm dealing with room temperature about 72 degrees, And my tap water can sometimes be 70 to 72 degrees also. So I simply just get a few ice cubes and simply throw them in the water bath. And then I just use a simple glass darkroom thermometer to monitor the temperature of the bath water and also to measure the temperature of the film developer. I haven't used D76 since the early 70s, mid 70s, so this is my first time around with this. And I usually use Clayton F76. The problem is that this film is so new that there's not a lot of information on development times for Clayton F76. So I'd have to experiment with it, which I'm going to do. Especially, I'd like to see how this fares in F76 versus one of my favorite films, Pan 200, since they're both kind of medium speed films. But anyway, off to upstate New York, Hudson Valley, P33, developed in Adox D76.